Erfurt is the capital of the federal state of Thuringia. In 2016, its population was 211,600. It first grew important in the 15th century when the wool was grown and processed in the city, which gained great wealth by trading it. The population had soon increased to 20,000 inhabitants. Due to the construction of the Thuringian Railway in the 19th century and the improved connection of Erfurt with its environment, there was again an increasing population. In 1906, Erfurt became a large city by approaching a population of 100,000, and 82 years later the number of inhabitants reached its maximum with 220,000. After the reunification of Germany in 1990, many people decided to live in the old West German states. To compensate this loss of population, 19 villages around Erfurt were suburbanized in 1994. 20 years later, Erfurt was classified into 53 districts. At the beginning of the 21st century, the net migration loss declined, and since 2002, Erfurt has been regaining population from the rural areas of Thuringia. For the further explanation of suburbanization in Erfurt, we divide the city into several structures of urban developments. Urban, in the inner city, prefabricated buildings in the north and southeast, and rural suburbs. The number of population varies due to the natural changes of population, emigration, and inner city movements. People who move to Erfurt from the rural areas of Thuringia are most likely to move to the urban city center, just like people from the prefabricated buildings. In most cases, the reasons are that they want to live near to their working place, plus there are better shopping opportunities and a person is more flexible due to the public transport system. People from the urban districts, especially families, mostly invest in a house of their own, because they want to live in a green surrounding with a low acoustic level. In 1994, there was a maximum of those movements and therefore a maximum of the process of suburbanization in Erfurt. Since 1994, Marbar's population has grown from 1,000 up to 4,000 inhabitants. In conclusion, we can tell that both urbanization and suburbanization take place in Erfurt. People from rural areas and prefabricated buildings move into the city center, while inhabitants of the urban district settle down in the suburbs of Erfurt. When talking about tendencies of urban development and urban sprawl, another important aspect is the influence that human actions have on the environment. Every city developed its own characteristic climate depending on its size and geographical location. Erfurt is situated on the southern edge of the Thuringian Basin, surrounded by higher landscape shapes, which results in a mild climate and less rainfall. In the following sequence, we will describe the human impact on the climate, water, soil, and wildlife. Because of the sheltered location and house construction, wind flow is limited. That's why air-guarding paths such as big streets and the Geraue are needed to enable an exchange of air. At the same time, there is a lot of traffic on those streets, which causes air pollution. Those emissions accumulate in the atmosphere over the city in a so-called haze dome, due to an insufficient air exchange. Furthermore, the air temperature is raised because of the high specific heat capacity of the synthetic building material, specific heat, reduced wind speed, and a lack of vegetation. Water is essential for all human beings. This is why this resource needs to be protected. But life in the city is connected with a high usage of water. Unfortunately, human actions pollute the groundwater and the river Gera, which means a lower water quality, and the high demand for water can't be covered anymore. This is why Erfurt has to obtain its water from external storages. Urbanization causes several negative changes in the soil in and around the city. For example, sealing, erosions, pollution, and contamination. 80 to 100% of the inner city is sealed, which means that water cannot drain into the ground and has to be carried away by the local canalization. Contamination of the soil, however, results from the existent toxic elements in the air. plants absorb that toxic matter, delivering it into the food chain. The direct destruction of natural habitats by settlement and infrastructure is one of the main reasons why species die out much faster than they used to. In fact, animals have always lived around people, but nowadays it's much more difficult. They are desperately looking for nesting sites and food. Highways and state roads like Freeway 71 and the State Road 4 act as a barrier for all kinds of animals and cause a lot of noise. To protect animals living in Erfurt, a lot of projects are initiated. Currently, there are around 350 preserved areas all over the city of Erfurt. Cities have been, are, and will be an important place to live for humanity. This is why it's even more important that we live sustainable, so that future generations might also enjoy their life in a city like we do.